Welcome back to the Grandin Podcast.
First draft films from indie to Hollywood. I got it right this time on the first try. Ugh, I feel so good. I'm never going to do that again.
How dare you talk down to yourself like that? Come on.
You should just cut a clip of you saying it and then just put it in and just like mouth it every time. Yes, like that.
Yes. Today we have a fantastic guest joining us.
Hi.
This is Lindsay Soules. She is one of my longtime best friends of 20 years now.
It's been what? It's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
About
wow.
20 years. Yeah.
But that's not why she's on the podcast. Because, anyways.
Nay.
We are here to talk about the amazingly fascinating topic of costumes. Now, don't check out. It's actually truly fascinating. Lindsay, how long have you been doing costume and fashion design?
Okay, I've been doing costume design, let me think. How old am I? For about 9 years now.
9 years. Nice.
But I have been doing clothing design for the past 12.
Wow, that is really impressive. So you were like...
I was 15 when
15.
I first professionally started working as a clothing designer.
Nice.
Wow.
See, I still remember pre-professional.
Oh, no.
Those were fun.
Let's just say I didn't get to have a sewing machine until about 2 years after I started wanting to be a clothing designer. So Staples.
Oh, wow.
What I
Yep.
started with.
I bet that was a lot faster than a sewing machine.
But did it work?
And was it comfortable? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Yeah, well, before we get too far into this topic, let's just share a little quick fact, our Grandin quick fact. Kate, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I learned recently that in the world, there were approximately 1,500 active volcanoes. Approximate because of variables that I don't remember.
Variables like if they're active or not?
I don't remember. Like I said, I don't remember. There was an approximation, and then there was a reason given for this is why we don't have an exact thing. Probably because sometimes they're active and sometimes they're not, and there's,
Yeah.
I don't know. Or they'll explode and then they'll die, and then they might come back in 100 years type thing.
Yeah.
Probably something like
Like
that.
Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I almost learned something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a lot of volcanoes.
Yeah.
My quick fact is that Grandin Film Productions has too many printers, and by that I mean we have an extra printer.
Yes, we have 2 printers.
Is this your pitch for Marketplace?
If someone wants to buy a printer, please let us know.
The link is below.
We will not overcharge you.
Well, do you have a quick fact for
I
us?
do have a quick fact. So, in 1969 in Washington state, it was made illegal to hurt a Sasquatch. Hunt or hurt a Sasquatch. And you could be fined up to $1,000 and up to a year in prison.
Oh, geez.
How many people did they charge with this
I didn't look that far into
felony or misdemeanor? It's probably more than a misdemeanor, but
I'm not sure what it classified as. You'll have to look that up on your own.
alrighty.
There you go. You've got homework.
Good to know. So if you see Bigfoot running around, better not. Well, I don't know what they do in Oregon, so lure them over the river to Oregon and then capture them, and yeah, there you go. Get them to swim across the river.
It did say harm them. So you technically, if you were to humanely catch one,
Okay, good to know. Looking at you, Ethan.
Ethan, our resident Bigfoot hunter.
Ethan Squatch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you own a business for
I do.
fashion costume. What would you define it?
I define it as clothing design.
Nice.
Kind of like overall.
Yes,
encompassing.
because
Yeah.
I'm not a fashion designer. I don't do fast fashion, and
Mhm.
I don't influence the fashion world, so I wouldn't be a fashion designer, but I'm not strictly a costume designer, so it
Mhm.
makes more sense to be a clothing designer.
So fashion is kind of the definition of what's hot now, kind of, and that's why you don't say that. Was that?
Well, fast fashion is
I know what fast fashion.
Okay.
is, but do you just not want to be associated with that at all?
Well,
Which is why
I'm not associated with fast fashion
Yeah.
in any way, but with fashion in general, you're you how do you what am I looking for? Like editorial or I want to say the word and I can't find it. You think of Vogue, or you think of runway shows, you think of where you have like
Like
these,
displaying? No, that's not.
well, they're like I'm gonna go insane. I can't believe I can't remember
Okay,
this word.
let's circle back to this because I really want to get a better concept of fast fashion because it just sounds like fast food. Like I could go into a department store and grab my McDonald's burger, which is a sweater, and like that's in my mind like what fast fashion goes to.
That's a perfect example of
Really?
fast fashion. Yeah,
Like
I mean,
cheap
I think
and-
so. It is cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fast fashion is essentially like, I don't know, in the past 20, 30 or so years, you've had instead of fashion being something where it's like in the 50s, you'd have a certain amount of dresses and they're all tailored to you and they're all very expensive, and that's how you wore clothing, is you had like specific outfits and they were nicely made and they were made for you. Fast fashion is designed to be ever changing. So it's like, this is in style right now. And so you buy it. And you
like
have
in
it.
2 years, it's going to
Yes.
be something else.
In 2 years, it's out of style. So you get rid of it and you get the new thing. And they're all very cheaply made and they're not made specifically tailored to anything. That's why you have the, like small, medium, large, and none of them actually fit you because they're not tailored to you. What you're technically supposed to do is you buy larger than what fits you, like the thing that fits the largest part of you, and then you're supposed to get that tailored down to fit you.
Whoa.
Yeah, like anytime you see like celebrities that they're wearing clothes that you're just like, wow, she looks gorgeous in a t-shirt. Like, how does she look so good in a t-shirt? It's because her t-shirt is tailored to fit her.
Wow.
Most of us wear clothes that don't fit us.
Yeah, and
Just
most
generic sizing.
of us don't get our clothes tailored to. I mean, how could you? Like,
It's certainly not as common as it used to be.
yeah.
And also probably more expensive, just kind
Oh.
of because it's not as common because of the rise of fast fashion, it sounds like.
Well, it's more common just in general. I mean, it's much more expensive to go to somebody and have them specifically size something to you than to mass produce something in one size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, the way that fashion is built, fast fashion is a necessary evil because because clothing is ever changing. So in order to be able to affordably dress, most people have to buy fast fashion in order to not look like a schlub.
Yeah. It's kind of like a whole spiral, like one leads to the other, all back to the other, and just keeps going and going. Wow, we could go on a whole topic about the degradation of fashion.
Oh, we absolutely could.
We're really
Not what I'm here for.
No.
we really want to tie it back into films and theater. And you have a lot of experience in film and theater. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
All right. Well, I started in film and theater about the time I started in costume design. And I originally, the way that I got into costume design was I went on to help another costume designer who, she wasn't a costume designer yet. She was coming into the role of being a costume designer when the previous costume designer left. And she didn't really know much about sewing. She didn't really know much about what it was to be a costume designer. And so I just came on to essentially assist her and just kind of give her pointers on sewing and that kind of thing. And from that, I became the costume designer for that department because it wasn't for her. It wasn't her thing. And anyway, so I started doing costume design and I was adjacently doing acting alongside that. And for like, I'm totally going off your question, but so because you're asking if I do like theater and film, so I have kind of gone back and forth in my career of working as an actor and then working as a costume designer, and I feel like they kind of fit hand in hand. So
Yeah,
I've done a lot of both in most fields, like a lot of shows that I've done. I've also done costumes for that show. I've done shows where I'm not the costume designer, but
And you've also done shows where you were the costume designer but haven't acted.
yes,
Yeah, so it's a whole. You can do just like everything.
Well, when it comes to indie films, it's nice to have someone that does everything.
That's
Indeed.
true.
Indeed, because
Yeah.
we have 2-person crews.
Indeed. Excuse me. Yeah, so you've been doing theater for quite a while. Do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer acting to costumes when you get the chance, or would you rather do just costumes, or do you like doing both?
I mean, this is probably going to sound contradictory, but I definitely prefer acting over doing costume design. The big thing, like, I think costume design is very important and very cool and can be very rewarding,
Mm-hmm.
but it very rarely is.
Mm.
Because most people don't really appreciate what all is put into costume design. I don't think most people understand that costume design is really storytelling, and
Mhm.
you're really aiding the story by putting this together. And it's art, it's an expression, and most people just look at it like, oh, you just put time period appropriate clothing on these people, like that's all you do. And it's not. It's so much deeper than that. And
Yeah.
it's not always. Like, you can make films and movies and theater and anything else by just putting time
I
time
mean,
period
that's what we've
appropriate
done
clothes on
pretty
there.
much.
Sure, yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking of the Isabel project,
Mhm.
which I mean, it's not out yet, but we dress characters specifically in certain
Mhm.
ways
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
order to, like, I mean, you were the director, so you
Yeah.
were most.
I can actually talk about that a little because, yeah, I was the director, and you've told me about this before, about how costuming really needs to tell a story and enhance the story and enhance the characters. And so, not knowing really anything other than that, I really tried to show this main female character in the Isabel project, her kind of demure sadness through some like kind of muted clothes. She's wearing like kind of gym clothes, casual type stuff. And then this the other main character, he's wearing kind of like a lot of layers. He's trying to like really hide himself in those layers.
But he's also wearing brighter colors.
But he's
than she
also
is.
wearing brighter colors.
Yes.
So I tried. It certainly would have been better if someone with your expertise could have done that. But I really see now, having done that, how it really does enhance that. Because if they had just been in kind of whatever clothes, you wouldn't get quite a sense of their character.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is costume design is just an artistic expression. So
Mhm.
you don't necessarily need someone to give you, like, I mean, sure, anything that you do, having pointers from somebody who's very experienced in it is always a benefit. But
Yeah.
it's not to say that you can't do it, even if it's your first time. Like,
Yeah.
what I haven't seen the Isabel project yet, but for all I know, I'll watch it and I will be like, wow, this is groundbreaking clothing design, costume design right here.
Mhm. Actually, that reminds me, when you watched Tatooine Trouble, Kate's short film that she made right before,
Mhm.
everyone should know that.
Yeah.
You told me that one of your favorite things was the costuming.
The costuming was very well done.
And that's honestly the biggest feedback I've got from like everybody who sees that is like the costumes are really good. I'm like, yay! I had a lot of fun doing that. It was all me, and I tried.
Yeah, that was very well done.
Most of the budget went to costuming.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's another thing. Costuming is very expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is also why it becomes kind of thankless a lot of the time,
Mhm.
because when you're making a film or you're working on any kind of project, theater, whatever, you don't understand why so much money is being poured into something.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first met, when you first started Grandin, about me possibly continuing to doing costume design for that, and you were like, well, how much would this cost? And I'm like, this would cost like $10,000 if you're gonna have me do it, like, because
Yes.
it's so many hours
Yep.
put into making it, and materials are expensive.
Yep.
Like, there's
Not getting any
so much that
cheaper.
goes into
Oh, yeah.
it. Oh yeah, I'm sure. My new quote is much higher, Kate. Sorry.
Yeah, inflation.
Yeah. But also, like, it is oftentimes so worth the cost. I mean, you look at the big budget productions, you look at Lord of the Rings, look at Dune, the show Wednesday. Like, I think like those had really good, appropriate costumes. I'm sure those were not cheap. I mean,
Sure.
think of the orcs in Lord of the Rings. Those were all real people in
Yep.
real fake armor or real armor. I don't know. And like just how much that would have cost, but also how terrible it would have looked if they hadn't been wearing that amount and that scale.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, even look at like a simpler costume, like the Hobbits.
Mm.
Okay, when you picture what the Hobbits are wearing, it's like what they have, like cut off khaki pants,
Like
and,
vest.
and a vest and like a
They're not even
blouse
wearing
shirt,
shoes.
and then they have like the elven
oh yeah, the cape.
The capes.
the
Yeah.
capes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I specifically can speak for the capes because I mean, what I do is I sell costumes
Mhm.
on Etsy, and so I have a lot of people that message me wanting like cosplay type things, and obviously Lord of the Rings is one of those things that people want
yeah.
a lot for cosplay. And to make one of those capes alone, I mean, it's a very it's a wool type fabric, very expensive. You're looking at least over $100
Wow.
Wow.
for something like that, and
For, like, a good
that is
quality.
one little costume piece.
Yeah.
I mean, just not even good quality. I'm talking about quality that just doesn't look bad.
Oh wow.
Like, it doesn't even have to be authentic. Like, it can be synthetic, like not real wool. Like, you're looking at way more if you're talking about real wool.
Oh god,
Yeah.
wool is
Just synthetic material and just made to just look like that on film. Yeah, you're looking at least over $100 for something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And is that for the short version for the hobbits? Not even like a tall real version.
Absolutely.
Wow, yeah, that is awesome. But it is really sad how it is often undervalued. You know, a lot of people in the indie community will do that, just like throw the clothes on the people and not really put a lot of thought into it. And in my opinion, and it might just be because I've been friends with you for so long and hear all of this a lot, like, but in my opinion, that really does not do good for the indie film. Like, indie films could really be enhanced by just having some better costuming and putting a lot more thought and a little more money into it. Yeah.
Well, even just thought, because because I know I'm talking about how expensive costume design can be, and especially when like you have a specific. I'm speaking of being a specific costume designer. That is my career. That's what I do. So I have to get paid to do it.
Definitely.
But just being a person working on your own indie films, doing costume design, I've worked on a lot of projects where my budget is practically nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, like my budget barely covers the dry cleaning after it's all done, and I have a very small, weird amount of stock to go through to costume a show. And you can be very creative and tell a really deep, interesting story by having a very limited amount to work with. It just depends on what thought you put into it. And a lot of times when you start looking at like, okay, well, this is what we have as an option, and you may have visualized like, this is what I want this person to wear, but then looking through what you have as an option, you can see, well, this actually tells a different story, and I like this new story it's telling. And that's where it becomes very artistic, is it grows with the show.
Yeah. And that pulling from stock is something that is really common in theater, because theaters will have a somewhat selective costume department.
Yeah.
And then, but even in the indie film world, like, go through your own closet, go through your parents' closets, your older, younger siblings, like
your actor's closet.
Yeah.
Like,
you can probably find something weird or cool in there that would fit even better than the gray sweater and jeans that you were imagining for this character. What about like thrift stores? Do you think that's a good resource too?
Oh, absolutely. I remember specifically, I'll just say, when I was working at YVC as their costume designer, and we did Young Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
And we had the whole choir in the show, and we in no way as a costume department could clothe that many people. And I remember me and the director, Ray, we went to Goodwill and we bought like pretty much all of their sheets. Like,
wow.
Like
bed sheets?
Bed sheets. Oh, and we turned them into big full like skirts.
Wow.
And so they're all different colors, which was like part of what you're going for, is it's like that, you know, like it's not an accurate portrayal of this place. It's a musical.
Young Frankenstein, it's a musical. It's silly.
It's silly. It's colorful. It's fun. And so then we had all these different colored sheets. And so you have these pretty colored sheets and these big skirts, and everybody has a different color, and they all have a different color scheme.
Yeah.
And
I remember those costumes. I was there for that show, and like, those costumes were awesome. I had no idea until just now that they were bed sheets.
Oh, they're bed sheets.
That's awesome.
Hate to break the illusion.
Awesome. No, that makes it even better. That's just like really encouraging to me as like low budget person in general. Like, you can just do that kind of stuff.
Oh, there's so many. I see ideas all the time for like. I saw the other day. It's from that show about the gypsy weddings. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I've heard of it, but
it's like it's a TLC show. Like, anyway, they always have the girls in like these super elaborate wedding, like crazy elaborate wedding dresses, like your wedding exploded on your body wedding dress.
Wow.
And this one girl had her wedding dress made out of wallpaper.
What?
Yes,
crazy.
and it was gorgeous.
What?
And I was like, I need to find this
I need to look this
wallpaper,
up.
and I need to make a dress out of wallpaper. Yes, look it up.
Wow.
It was so cool.
Huh.
I mean, she said she was horribly uncomfortable, but you could probably make it where it was comfortable. It was like the fact that it had like this stiffness, like they could make like these peaks on it, and then the skirt like
Oh, wow.
held such a shape because it's
yeah.
wallpaper. But just realizing that like because fabric is expensive
Yeah.
Mhm.
and clothing is expensive, so being able to essentially use any kind of a textile, like you
Yeah.
can use curtains, you can use bed sheets, you can use wallpaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, wallpaper's not one I would have initially thought of.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Wow.
I saw that. I think I saw that yesterday.
That's
I was just like,
wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
The screen went dark. Anyways, what has been your favorite project to work on of all the movies and theaters and stuff that you've done? Do you have a favorite, first of all?
You know, I do have a favorite.
Yeah?
My favorite was Taming of the Shrew at YBC,
Ooh.
which was the first show that I actually costumed all by myself.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I-
a big
I-
show, right? How big is the cast? It was like 12, 15 something people.
yeah, but
That's not big for Shakespeare.
But also remember that just because you had 12 or 15 people, that's how many people were in the cast. So I was costuming like at least 30 to 40 different characters.
Right,
And then even
right,
those
right.
characters had costume changes.
Mm.
And and I only made a few items for that show, but well, that's not true. I actually made a
wedding
lot from that show.
dress.
The two wedding dresses.
Two wedding
There's two wedding
dresses.
dresses in that show. Yes.
Just in case you're not familiar with the show, there's two sisters and they both get married. That's all you need to know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
And
It's not.
but we yeah, that's the whole story. But we set it in the 1940s, which
Mhm.
well, please about me. The 1940s is my favorite era of fashion, and
Ooh,
it is
nice.
it is said that the 1940s like the 1940s style of fashion resurges every 8 years.
Whoa.
wow.
So it like 1940s is timeless fashion.
Huh.
And so I encourage you, if you're not familiar exactly what 1940s fashion looks like, go look up, just type in 1940s fashion and you'll be like, oh, I love that. I love
Mhm.
this. And it's because
Yeah.
it's something that constantly resurges in our fashion.
Huh.
If I remember right, to go on slightly on a tangent, 1940s it was a big change from what the trends were before because of the war. They didn't
Mhm.
they didn't want to use as much fabric. They wanted to like kind of tone a lot of things down, so they had to develop things that looked good but weren't like as expensive or didn't use as many resources.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
with that limitation, all that creativity and beauty came out of that,
Yeah.
which I think is
Yeah,
cool.
that's really cool. I always think of it as like from the side that I know about it is you come off of like especially the 1920s, the silhouette that people were
Mhm.
going for was like a very boxy
Mm-hmm.
shaped silhouette, which I personally don't like. But it's like a very
Yeah.
boxy low waist. And then when you got to the 1940s, that was really when we started like doing the cinched waist, and it's that very like hourglass shape style. And I don't know about you, but like that is my favorite shape
Yeah.
to achieve as a woman.
Yeah.
And it's very polished. It's it's achieving that shape. Yeah, and so you see that resurge itself over and over again. Like we have like high waisted pants, like and
It's huge
and
right
crop
now.
tops. That's creating that silhouette of
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I can't seem to finish sentences.
Yeah.
But
I
Anyways.
never thought about high waisted pants and a crop top being 1940s. But it makes sense.
Yeah. That is
Wow.
really interesting.
I love it.
So back to Taming of the Shrew. You made a couple costumes. I know there was your wedding dress because you were the
Yes.
lead actress in that.
I
on
was
top of
Oh,
costumes.
wow.
on top of doing the
You
costume,
played
yes.
Catherine.
Catherine. Yeah.
Not that Catherine.
I didn't have to say that. I know the story.
Yes, so I made the two wedding dress. Oh my gosh, I have to remember. So I made the two wedding dresses. We had because it was set in the 1940s, and it was like we had just come off the war. So then everybody was also dressed in military uniform, which
Yeah.
a big part of that is because the theater has a bunch of old military uniforms.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
it was awesome to be able to pull from all of that. I looked up a bunch of like what patches people would have worn for what rank they'd be in, and we just bought the patches and put them on the uniforms we already had. But also, mind you, people are a much different size now than they were back in the 1940s, just in
Yeah.
general. So a lot of those costumes, I had to just make replicas of them or like something similar to them to make it work for people that were not a size 0. And
That
yeah,
sounds hard.
so gosh, I can't remember all the things I made for that show.
Yeah. But it sounds hard, like trying to replicate a military uniform.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily do that. It was
Oh.
like, it was things like a sailor's uniform, which I guess is a military uniform, but like not like a suit jacket or anything like that.
okay.
It would be
little
something
simpler.
simpler. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Because I remember those costumes looking amazing. Like every single one. Everyone looked so good in that show. I can't remember what I did.
I'm very
I was like
proud of
AD or something. But
You were a stage manager.
was I stage manager?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. That was a good
Nice.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a really good show. The whole script in general, fantastic. But also like the fact that it was set in the 40s, the fact that you did all those costumes looked so real.
Mm.
Like it really helped bring the story and the characters to life because of the costuming. So
I think the big part of that is because that was probably the most as a costume designer for something.
Hmm.
Because it was the first show that I got to do all the costumes for, and it was the first show that Ray was directing.
oh yeah.
And he was pretty much just like, I trust you.
Mhm.
Just make whatever you want.
And
so
it's such a wacky story too. It's like so ridiculous.
Yeah, I could see you having a lot of fun with just all the, I don't know, weird things that happen.
Mhm. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what have you been doing recently? We know you have your business, which is on Etsy. Is it anywhere else?
No, I just sell on
Just
Etsy.
Etsy.
We'll link it in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I sell my bread and butter is Renaissance fair costumes. And I as a sacrilege, I've never been to a Renaissance fair.
You should go.
We should go.
Why
Yeah,
have
let's
we
do
not
it.
gone?
I barely knew Renaissance fairs ever existed until I started making my living.
Dude, we can go with some of your Ren Fair stuff and sell stuff there.
Heck yeah.
That would be
Okay.
awesome.
I'm a little
Count
too
me in.
excited.
No, me and my assistant have talked about that. How
Mhm.
we're like, we should just go to a Ren fair and have a booth.
Yeah,
Love it.
that'd be awesome.
I would help out for free.
Yeah. I would help out
Just so
for the price of a costume.
Yeah.
I would be a model, a live model walking around being like, go to this booth if you want this costume.
like you're promoting a brothel.
Oh gosh.
That's what it sounds like. Like, you want some of this?
Oh no.
I'll phrase it differently.
You need to find your man meat over there.
Oh, man.
Oh no.
So that's your bread and butter is your Etsy with the
Mhm.
Ren Fair stuff. You've made a couple of big ball gown dresses for Kate and I,
Mhm.
and they're stunning. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. You've also done some other big fancy dresses for other models who've bought them, and
Mhm.
those are super pretty. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of like all the things you've done
Thanks.
recently.
Something important.
Forget the business; that's not important. Something important.
That I did with a dress. It's fine. My wedding dress.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the bridesmaid
Wait,
dress. I'm the one who wasn't even there, Brooke.
she got it.
It's late, y'all. It's 6 p.m. It's like almost
It's
past
past
time.
Oh gosh.
You know.
No, so you did make your wedding dress and 3 bridesmaids dresses.
And 3 flower girl dresses.
And 3. Oh, I forgot
Wow.
about that. Yeah, that's a
Those
lot.
were the best dresses in the
They were
wedding, though.
so
They were
cute.
so cute. Oh,
You need to show me because I know
I
what
do
the
know
other
that.
things look like, but I don't know what those look like.
oh my
Yeah,
God, they're so
super
cute. They're like they're kind of your stereotypical little, what you'd think of a flower girl dress, and they got these great big bows on the back, and they're
Aw.
each a different color. So everybody, all of my bridesmaids and flower girls, they were all a different color, but it was like a gradient
Ooh.
of colors. So then like they kind of matched each other,
Yeah.
and then like separately the bridesmaids, their colors went together, and then separately the flower girls' colors went together.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fun.
It was
Nice.
That's part of that costume designing.
There you go.
telling that story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you done any theater or film recently for costume design?
No, not really. I've been really I mean, my Etsy takes up all of my time. It is
Yeah.
it is my full-time job.
Yeah.
So I do consistently do that, and I really love doing that. That's the thing
awesome.
is I have been consistently making a living off Etsy for 3 years now.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, and I kind of thought by now I'd get burnt out on it, especially because I'm mostly making the same item over and over and over again. But I haven't gotten burned out on it at all.
Wow.
I've just, by doing it over and over again, I've really cut down my time on doing it. By cutting down my time, I don't have to raise my prices.
Mm.
I actually haven't raised my prices in, I think, over a year.
Awesome.
Wow.
And that's really nice. I can't always promise that it will stay that way, but
Right.
I like the market I fit in, because
Mhm.
we were talking about this earlier, how if you charge too cheap for your items, for one, they're not going to sell, and for two, the people that they sell to weirdly expect more out of you. Like they
Yeah.
expect it to be something so much better than it is. But then if you charge more for it, it's like the market buying for that are like, wow, your costumes are really affordable and they're great. We love the quality. But it's also a game of like, I have people tell me like, oh, well, you could charge so much more for what you're making. And I like being able to keep my items at an affordable rate, especially because like I do design for sizes 2X small to 6XL or larger. Like if
Mhm.
somebody needed a custom order, I would definitely make it because they're all custom made. But
Yeah.
I don't change the price based on if it's an XX small to a 6XL. Even though, sure, there's a big difference in the amount of fabric you're using, but I try to keep that consistent.
Awesome.
I lost my train of thought. Anyway,
That's okay.
I have the ADHDs, so sorry.
Same.
But anyway, so I try to keep it at an affordable rate where it covers my materials, it covers my time put into making it, and it's enough, to do that. But if I were to raise prices, I then lose a large market of the people that I have, and I'm then creating something that is unaffordable to a lot of people that don't have other options. And I'd rather just stay where I'm at in this happy market that I am, because
Yeah.
I know just following other, like YouTubers or TikTokers, Instagrammers, you always see videos of people when they complain about bad clients that they come across, and just like, oh, I had this nightmare customer, I had all these things. And I almost never have that. I could
Awesome.
probably count on one hand like bad customers that I've
Wow.
had, that I've like scamming customers. Well, I think I've only had maybe 2 people try to scam me.
How would you scam somebody? Like, what does that mean?
Where you would get the item, I guess on Etsy, because they're very protective about how they do things. One way on Etsy would be they order something from you and it's totally fine, it's exactly what they wanted, and they're just like, this came damaged, and it's not damaged.
So they want like something for free.
They want their money back. And it's just, and I'm the kind of person where if someone tells me something's damaged, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want people to be happy with what they buy. So, or if something comes and it's not the right size for them, I'll alter things for people. If you just want to send it back to me, I'll just make it the right size for you. And but I can think of one specific example where there was nothing wrong with her order. First, she was telling me that it didn't come, and that like she never received it, even though it was marked as delivered. So I made her another one and sent it to her. And then she was like, oh, this one's damaged. And I'm like, can you show me a picture of it? And she had flipped it inside out. So you're looking at the seams on the inside, and she's like, see, it's damaged. And I'm like, this is just the inside, like under the skirt, because you have like a liner and an outer part. I flip it up so it makes it easier to alter if you ever needed to alter it. And she just like flipped it up. It was showing the insides of it. And anyway, that's the only like one I can really think of. But I see people all the time where they get scammers like on the daily. And that's horrible. And so knock on wood, I'm so thankful for all my customers.
Yes,
They're
you have great customers.
They're very lovely people. They're so kind. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've really found your niche.
I
That's
have.
awesome.
I really love it. I love the people that I work with. I have people that have bought things from me and they become connections. Like they post my stuff on Instagram. Like I have people that want to make do collaborative videos with me on TikTok. Like it's really cool just because they liked the clothes that I made for them.
Aw,
That's awesome.
that's really cool. So
I feel like we've already talked about that.
We've pretty much talked about all the questions. But do you have any advice for anyone who wants to be a costume designer or fashion designer or in the world of clothes or theater or anything like that?
Well, when it comes to costume design, gosh, I mean, I taught myself. Like that's a big thing that a lot of people are surprised to hear about me, is that I am a self-taught designer. I never went to school for this. I never even took a home ec class. Like my sister used to sew, like pattern sew. And when I was about 10, I remember pulling out a t-shirt that I had and like laid it out, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is where it's sewn together and this is about the shape, and just like figuring those things out. But that was the long route for me to take. What I would advise anybody to do is see if there are tailors in your town, like people that do alterations, or if you have seamstresses, or if you have clothing designers near you. One of the big things that I really learned working in this industry, I have never met another, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've never met another designer that was really stuck up. Like it's like such a community of people that just like want to share things with each other. So like I remember the first photo shoot I ever went to when I was 15. I met this designer and he was like, oh, well, do you know how to use grommets? And he's like showing me, he's like, this is the tool I use to make grommets. And he's like, and also on your mannequin, you want to use this mannequin tape here. You can just have this. Like, go tape up your mannequin, like all this stuff. And he was just like, do you buy your machinery from Joann's or Hancock Fabrics, back when Hancock Fabrics was real? And I was like, Hancock Fabrics. And he's like, good, don't buy from Joann. And that I will stand by that. Do not buy machinery from Joann.
Is it bad quality?
Super bad quality.
Oh no.
Yeah. Good advice. When you're buying a sewing machine, make sure that the interior is all metal pieces. Because a lot of cheaper sewing machines that have plastic pieces on the inside, they'll break as they work, and you can't replace those pieces. You have to replace the whole machine. So it makes more sense to buy and it shouldn't be more expensive. You just gotta and by looking at the inside, I just mean like flipping down the little tray where it shows where the bobbin goes. That little bobbin thing, make sure that it's metal and not plastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a great piece of advice. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't either. My first sewing machine, I had wanted for so long, be stapling these clothes, and I finally get a sewing machine, and I probably used it for about a week.
Oh
and,
no.
And the little bobbin broke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is tragic.
Sad day.
That was really sad day.
Sad childhood.
Oof.
Tell me about your childhood trauma. That's mine.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Wow, yeah. That is some great advice though. Do you recommend self-taught, or would you recommend like people looking into maybe a school for clothing?
I recommend looking into a school. I especially recommend looking into a mentor. I can't speak so highly on school because I've known a number of people that they don't even work as designers, they work as assistants that have gone to school. And that's a big thing, is one thing that I've learned a lot about like colleges and like the trade schools for clothing design is they're really teaching you how to work under somebody and not for yourself. So you're learning how to do like line work, and you're not learning how to just like completely construct a garment that you came up with yourself. And so that can be very limiting for you, and it can be very discouraging because it can make the world of making clothes look so outside of your realm. And it's really very simple. You just need, and it's okay to and there's no right and wrong way to do things when it comes to, it's like art.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong way. And the thing with clothing design is a lot of people will tell you there's a right or wrong way.
Yeah. I've known some other people who sew, not like you do, not as a business, but just as kind of a solid hobby. Yeah. And a couple of them have told me like, these are the rules, and like essentially if you don't follow these rules, you're doing it wrong. But like for what they're doing, certain styles, like, yeah, there's some rules. There's rules to everything. But yeah, it's really, it comes down to that expression of your imagination, your creativity, from costuming theater to film to just Ren Fair costumes. Just Ren Fair costumes.
I had a mentor here in Yakima. Her name was Coralie, and she used to have a tailor shop. And I remember the first day I went to see her, she was like, okay, bring me something that you've made so I can see where you're at right now.
Ooh.
And so I brought in this thing that I was really proud of until I was bringing it in. Like it was my graduation dress. And so it was like something I had recently made. I was really proud of it. And as I was bringing it in and I was like showing it to her, I'm like looking at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is garbage. Like,
Oh.
I can't believe I'm showing this to you. And so I was like pointing out, I was like, I know that this is wrong, and I know that this needs to be resewn, and I need to redo this. And she just looked at me and she's like, you made a garment. And she's like, that's very impressive that you made a garment that you could wear to something. And that's really all clothing design is that you made a garment. And as long as it looks how you want it to look, that's all there is. And it just takes time to learn and refine what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't give up. Just keep sticking with it and practice. Like YouTube's
And
a fantastic
get
resource.
advice. YouTube is
Get
a great
mentor.
resource.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but having someone that you can talk to really helps, because
Yeah.
it's somebody that like, I don't understand this, or I need to pinpoint this with the equipment that I have and with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's monumental.
Yeah. Now, would you ever consider becoming a mentor yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I have wanted to be a mentor since I was in high school. Like,
Aw.
I've had,
Aw.
because so many people come to me and they're just like, I really want to learn how to make clothes. And I'm like, girl, come to my house and we'll do it. And just no one's ever taken me up on it.
Oh, well, if you're listening and you want to take her up on that offer, we'll put your social, Instagram,
Yeah.
or whatever in the description. Because someone out there was just like you back when 10, 12 years ago, just starting out. And
It's true.
yeah,
I mean, and that's a big thing, is we don't have very many tailors in Yakima
Mhm.
anymore, or a lot of places really. Like,
Yeah.
tailoring, and so I mean, I'm not a tailor. Like, let's just put that out there right away. I'm not a tailor. I am a clothing designer, but I understand the certain principles there are with that,
Mhm.
and it's becoming a lost art, and it's something that people more and more are wanting and needing.
Yeah, that is really true. Do you have any last piece of advice or information that you want to share before we cut this off?
I don't know. Ask me another question.
Let's move into our outro question
Yeah.
for the episode, which is, so recently I was also learning a thing, not different resource than I learned about the volcanoes. But our question for the room and the audience is, would you rather visit Mount Everest, highest elevation, or the Challenger Deep, which is the lowest point in the entire Earth? It is the lowest point in the ocean. It is, I don't have numbers, sorry, but it is
Very, very
deeper,
deep.
like deeper under sea level than Mount Everest is above sea level.
Oh,
So,
Whoa.
would you rather be at the highest or the lowest point of the world?
Gosh.
For me personally, I find the idea of being at the lowest point of the world very claustrophobic. I would not be interested in that. As much as I don't like heights and cold, I would rather be in Everest than under all of the ocean.
yeah. I would rather be in Everest just because, I mean, being down that low, there's no lights, so like you're just kind of in the dark.
It's just like more of like I said, I did this thing
Yeah.
cool versus I'm seeing all these cool things.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie too many times.
Yeah. But I don't want to climb Everest. I'll say that.
Well, I wouldn't need.
You just magically get transported to whichever point it is.
Hopefully with appropriate equipment.
I hope so.
That's up to you.
What about you? Where would you rather go?
Well, I'm not an extremist on any front, so I'm just kidding. I would definitely pick Everest, because you make a good point. Like, what am I going to see at the lowest point? I'll just be like, great, I'm here.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, Everest, you always hear that, like, on Mount Everest you can see the curve of the Earth. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah.
And then some snow.
Yeah. Some snow. A
Yeah,
little bit here and there.
But I will not be climbing any mountains anytime soon.
me
No.
neither.
Yep. I could take, I don't know, a helicopter up there or something.
I don't know
I
if you can
wouldn't
though.
even like that.
I don't
Yeah,
think,
no, you
because
can't.
the Earth,
Yeah.
the air is so much thinner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even if you were to snap your fingers and be transported, like you
Oh
might
gosh, you'd
die
just
because
pass
your
out,
body
yeah.
wouldn't know how to breathe in that thin
Mhm.
oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Let's not teleport. Let's keep this entirely theoretical. Speaking of theoretical, if you do go down to the depths of the ocean, I've heard rumor that there's bigger creatures than like imaginable down there, because the light and the gravity something or other make them like even bigger than the biggest creatures we know of on
Do
Earth.
you think the Leviathan are still down there, bro?
For a second, I thought you were talking about the Loch Ness monster. I was about to be like, "Excuse me, that's in Scotland."
No,
Only.
but I heard this from some like science article somewhere on the internet, but like, yeah, down in the depths where the light never reaches and gravity is so different and the pressures are different, like creatures can grow bigger than whatever the biggest whale is. Like
Wow.
Yeah.
way
Like giant
bigger.
squids are a thing, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's one
yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
But like that would be like regular squid size compared to these things is like in the
Mhm.
theory that I heard or
Wow.
whatever. So
Maybe the
you
Kraken.
might see something if you go down that way.
That's true.
Maybe the
Something I
Kraken
don't
is-
ever want to witness.
Something you might not come back to tell about. Anyways, let us know what you would do, Everest or Challenger Deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and thank you, Lindsay, so much for
Thank you,
joining us.
guys.
This has been fantastic. No one ever talks about costumes, so this has been really awesome.
Oh, I know. No one ever
Yes,
talks.
I know.
about costumes. That's why I love getting a chance to talk about it.
Well, we love getting the chance to have you talk about it.
Yes.
you.
And I
thank
hope
you.
you all listening and watching can get the same out of it that we just got. I feel like I learned so much.
Me too.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for being on here, and we'll see you guys next time.